Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. And hi, Fabian.
Hi, Kishin.
Okay, today we're going to talk about past life and how to see our past life. Um, in order to tap or get into this state where we can see our past lives, it needs strong mindfulness. It needs our ability to practice being in the present consistently, persistently, every day, right? And place the importance of being in the present. So what I would normally would practice is I would just sit on my pillow, right, to meditate before I go to bed. I don't have any like special place or anything. It's just very simple on my bed, on my pillow. And as I lie down to sleep, because I'm feeling really tired and and the body is been working all day. Then as I lie down, I would still sustain that attention in the front, as I laid there. And as you lay there, you would feel your body very heavy. It will want to drop, it will want to sink. Um, uh, so so you just let it sink, but at the same time, sustain this attention, right? But not so forcefully, not so strongly. It's not the type of attention that want to watch or want to know, right? It's the attention that just hanging on to that thread of consciousness. So the idea is to let the body sleep, but the mind is awake. So at some point, the body, as it becomes very heavy, then you just let it go, right? Just sink, just let it drop. And that is the point where it goes to sleep. And then the mind would become very alert, right? It's very hard to maintain that tiny thread of consciousness. That's why you need a strong mindfulness to hold that tiny thread, because the mind would want to go into sleep and go into a different state. But if you hold on to that tiny thread of consciousness, then the mind would all of a sudden become very alert, right? And then many things might happen. One, you might be jot out of your body, right? So it's like an opportunity to go astral travel or something. So experience out of body, and the other. But if you're out of your body, then you can't see your past life, right? Seeing past life need to be in your body. So even though you might be jotted out of your body and you feel like you might want to explore astral travel, but today you want to explore past life, so come back into your body, right? And come back to where it lay, and then you might start to see. So what happened is, most people would like seeing a screen, like going to the cinema and watch a big screen of the movie, but the movie is you, right? It's not just an objective you, but it's you in both places, right? And it could be many perspectives. You might also be in the audience also. So you are aware of yourself laying there, right? And you are aware of yourself in the audience, sitting on the seat of the cinema. And then you are also feel and know you are the actor or the actress on the big screen. And that is how you see your past life. And each past life would have a different mark that would signal a different past life, right? For me, it's like hearing this little noise in the ear, right? So even the first time you jotted out your body, you would have this really loud noise in your ear. But it will get better. But the noise won't be as loud and like really to the point of hurting your ear. But each past life, there is that tiny ringing in the ear. Then you would know there's another past life coming up. Or other times, it might present itself differently, right? You might lay there and you might just see a little snippet of you and somebody here in the past as somebody else. Or what you might also experience is at those times you might go traveling. You might go to different places in the world, or you might go to space. It's quite interesting. But I just want to remind that all our experience is there for us to learn, right? To learn about reality, to learn, so that it would contribute to our wisdom and our qualities in the present. It's not, yeah. It's okay to have fun, right? It's okay to have fun and go and have all these cool memories and experience. But just be careful, it can be addictive and distracting. Yeah. So do you have any question, Fabian?
Yeah. So yeah, it's I was first of all I had a question, but then you answered it before I asked it. So actually, you described the very consistent and persistent effort in bringing your awareness throughout the day, like in the informal practice, into the present moment, and then also like really putting an importance in establishing and maintaining that awareness throughout the day. And so also I wanted to add there is actually interest, like really interest in that too. So that gets you actually going in order to coming back to the present moment. So and yeah, because I had once this experience when I was in a monastery, and I don't know how long it was, 3 or 4 weeks in. And whatever I did very mindfulness. My chores of the day, sweeping, walking somewhere, going to bathroom, and brushing teeth, and whatever. I did it all just body awareness. And then one night I went to bed, like before I meditate, as you said, like I meditate, and then I do go lying down, and I thought, okay, I just do a bit of lying meditation too now. And it's very interesting. I didn't know to that point that what kind of awareness there's supposed to be. So there's not this firm, sort of stiff and say tight awareness of an object. It's just sort of a broader one, and yeah, not hanging on too strongly to that thread of consciousness. But yeah, it really happened as you said, like the body fell asleep, the body yeah, just I tried to move it because I seen somehow I overcame that sort of threshold of not also mentally going to sleep, but like I could see, okay, I'm still awake, but something was different. So, and I was trying to move my body, but it would not move. It would stay stiff. And like, okay, what is happening? Am I paralyzed? Am I what having all these worries coming up? And then I try to really and and I see like something in my body's still there, but something moving and trying to come over the edge of the bed. And I then realized it was the mind. So, and it's very interesting because what you explained, I before had this question, but as you said, you answered it. So you said that's just before you go into past lives. So you could tell your mind, okay, I want to go into past lives. When you're in the body still, right? But I did the other approach, like doing the out of body experience. So
Mm,
you can do one or the other. So that's very interesting. I chickened out basically because I was just on the edge to falling over. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna break my nose, and I did not really know it was my mind. I thought it's still the body, even though it's lying there.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's the first thing I wanted to say. So we might talk about that for a bit because I have other question too.
Okay. So, number one, you want to keep an open mind, right? You don't want to say that I'm going to see my past life, because that might be a suggestive, it might taint, it might, it's, some people could say you are imagining, you are suggesting, right, your mind. So I would just leave it open, right? Just another another wonderful habit why we should meditate before we go to bed is that even if we don't have any wonderful or extraordinary experience, still we go into sleep with that peace or that calm mind, right? So we'll sleep deeper, and then our sleep will be more effective and restful and deep. The method that you describe is like rolling out the bed, right? That is more to jot astral travel or out of body, because you sleep on the edge of the bed and you know that the body has sleep, but you are awake, and then you try to roll out of bed. And yes, there is that fear that you're gonna fall, right?
Yeah.
But if you know, then when you roll out of bed, then at that point you'll be out of your body, right? It's an
Yeah,
out of
I
body
was just
experience.
about to, but it did not happen because I was too scared. Never had it, never had it since. Like if I knew that I'm never gonna have it again, I'd done it definitely.
Yeah, you would try a bit. um, yeah, um, so in this state, um, yeah, so this journey that we are on in developing our mindfulness, meditation, um, you can call it psychic powers, or you can call it uh, many of our abilities start to come to us, right? It's not that we are consciously developing it. Like, yes, you can. When it comes, and your mind is strong, you can develop it. But then you have to ask yourself, what is your goals, right? What is your goals? Is your goals is to develop psychic powers, or is your goals is Mount Everest enlightenment, right? So as we're climbing up to the top of Mount Everest, we're going to be experiencing and tap into our inner abilities, our potentials. And so it can be tempting, right? It can be fun, but at the same time, it can be a waste of time.
Yeah, I find it really good. Actually, there I wanted to bring in my another question because it suits quite well at this point. So it's definite that we're basically entering the juicy parts of meditation, right? Long sittings of boredom, long sittings of restlessness, and sloth and thought and doubt, whatever. And it's finally the point when all the hindrances sort of are overcome, at least for that moment, and then the juicy parts are going to happen. So for my taste, like I would definitely like try that out, right? So because that's sort of the loan you get. But as you say, I totally agree. Then once you have sort of drunk from that juicy juice, and then you're like, okay, I tasted it, I enjoyed that scenery, but I climb up more to the peak. And what I wanted to say is which is what you mentioned is really good, that the experience we're making throughout this juicy journey is what are we using it for? Is it just for entertainment, or is it just for, like, having the intention to attain superpowers or psychic powers, or is it actually learning more about the reality? So I always thought it is very important to get to the point in order to see past life, because first it completely um, destroys any doubts you're gonna have about past lives. So you know exactly, you have lived, you have gone through all that stuff already, and over again, and you're not basically a core. And also the second is, like, not only doubts but the sense of self is then more obvious that it is not something fixed. So and actually it really strengthens the belief that you have lived before, you have gone through all the suffering before, you have been this guy, that person, this animal, maybe that angel, or there are different realms you can be born in. So actually that's it does help in order to make your belief and your practice more firm. And and for me that contributes to awakening. So in a sense it's good
Mm,
to experience that past life. It was always important for me.
okay, so I just want to clarify. Once, when we don't have an experience and we learn from others, then it is a belief. But
Yes.
once we have direct experience, and it's not a belief anymore, it is truth, right? So that is the difference. It's not that our belief is strengthened, it's just that our belief is now become truth, because we have experienced it and we've seen it for ourselves. So what was once a belief is now truth. So it's important to clarify that. Number two is, I just want to give some warning that when you enter this realm of past life, you might not experience the wonderful moments or any moment of that past life, right? You might experience the last moment of that past life. And I'm talking about death, okay? I'm talking about you going through past death. So on the one hand, yes, you learn about the transient nature of the self or non-selves, but also you'll be confronting your fear, right? Not confronting, but you are literally being thrown into living through death, right? So I just want to give that warning so that when people do try these techniques, just beware that you might be experiencing your last moment or your death. For me, when I first happened to me, I didn't try, I didn't ask for it, I didn't consciously go into it, but I experienced two deaths, right? And when you experience two deaths at like out of the blue, unprepared, it was it was very confronting. It was yeah, you basically face your fear, all of your fear, the fear of death, because you're literally going through it, because you're literally dying, right? So, and then when you came out of it, it's what can you say? It's like you're being renewed. You've been something profound has changed inside of you, and you can't be the same anymore. But it's not the same shift, or it's not the same transformation as towards the end, as the process of losing, not losing, but the self become transient, become blip in, blip out. Well, that is different, right? When you have an experience and you're going through, like death, and you have insight, you can feel yourself change, but you haven't transformed.
Yes, yes. I just wanted to yeah, jump in there saying that um, it is a very transformative experience. At least it sounds like that. So because you have then really the feeling and not only the believing blind faith, like you really have experienced it, and then you dead sad about that. And the thing is also it gives you lots of insights, right? So that's one thing, that something happens, but it also gives a certain sense of clarity. Also it tells you a lot about, it depends on how scared you were about this, you seeing yourself dying, and you basically experiencing all of that feelings that happen, your perception, the state of consciousness of past life, I imagine. And then do you really understand the attachment you have towards existence, right? Towards living. You really understand why you still live, actually, or you might get a glimpse on why you still live, because the attachment is still there, to exist, right? Um, and yeah, it's I think it really contributes a lot to the awakening. Yeah, and to that the self is gonna vanish in time once you proceed. Yeah.
So yeah, so when you go through death, right? Um, what really prominent in that experience is the fear, right?
Mhm.
It's not just you, right, fearing. There is just fear. There is so much fear that there is just fear, right? Um, so so when you come out, the insight is what is so fearful, right? The fact that you have such big, massive fear is because your sense of self is so strong, still so strong. And it is, yeah, it is fear of dying, fear of non-existing, right? Um, fear of not living. So, yeah, so, but it's good because as you proceed and progress towards later on, And when your sense of self become transient and kind of static, right? Then that is not so much a sense, it's not so much a fear of death that you are experiencing when your sense of self is static. It's very refined now, you know.
Mhm. Yeah. So that is a technique you can train, you say. Like you basically you could also do that in, say, daily life, or can you only do that once you have a retreat and you have the opportunity to practice as much as you can, or only staying in a monastery? Or can you really do that in, say, daily life once you're like you're still having a work life and
Mm,
relationship? And would you say you
mm.
can develop that even though?
Of course. But like I say, it's depending on your commitment, right? Your persistence. I definitely did all this while I was having children, while I was married, while I was working. So yeah, I did all this here. It's not like special condition. I do go to retreat and I do have special condition, but that's another story. Um, but definitely, we can develop all these abilities while a monk living just a normal life.
Hmm. Yeah, okay. Well, that's very interesting to know, because most of our the audience will be staying in in lay life, like not in a monastery, looking or watching us. So that's very nice. And it takes regular practice, right? So what would you say? Like, I know it's really hard to say round about this and that amount of hours in practice in order to become. I know that's hard. It's nearly
Mm,
to, but like maybe you
mm.
can glimpse
Well,
into.
mm, everybody is different, right? Everybody come to this life with a different qualities, with different development. So I can't really say a certain time frame. But what I can say is you can use yourself as your teacher again, right? You inspect, right? The way we inspect ourselves is just try out tonight, right? As you lay down to sleep, um, how strong is your attention? How far can you hold on to that thread of consciousness as your body go to sleep, right? Most normal people, when I ask them to do that, it's like the moment that the body sink, they sink, right? Consciousness sink, gone into a different state. But um, but if you have practice or how practice you are, you know, right? Uh, um, Maybe sometime you're not so strong, but in a at a particular condition, it right, and that particular day, you can do it. You know what I mean? So you might not be able to do every day or the time that you want, but because of the consistent practice, it build up, and to a certain day, you're able to do it.
Wow. Yeah. So so basically, like once a person like going to bed and try and have this intention. So sometimes I try that too. Like once I'm lying down, and then I do lying meditation. But nowadays, like not being in a monastery and having this persistent effort and time, I sort of and not often, because it's not a comfortable. I'm sleeping on the side, right? So on the back it's not comfortable. So I pop into awareness again, and then I pop back. So it's not like I see I can sort of draw myself out, or I see the body falling asleep and I'm awake and serene. All of a sudden, it's more like yeah, but not really being not being detached and like disconnected with the body. It's not like that.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. So that's another danger because uh, we don't want to mess up our sleeping pattern, right? We don't want to mess up our sleep because we're tired and we got to go to work tomorrow. So we need the body to sleep, right? But when we hold on to this attention, all of a sudden our body don't want to go to sleep, right? Our mind is like so awake. So
Yes.
you you want to you want to hold on to that attention, but then also learn to let that attention go, right?
Mm.
Like I say, it's an art. It's the ability to just hold on to a thread of consciousness, not a very fine thread, right? And but most is just letting all that attention go, let it sink with the body.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Okay, so yeah, it's probably, yes, it's really going to be a bit of experimenting too, right? Like when is the awareness too tough and too tight and too fixed and too focused, and when it is too broad, so that you're being unaware, and then you basically sink in with the body to sleep. So it's sort of a juggling around with,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes. It's just a very fine balance. Um, but as you practice, you get better, right? And but the thing is, I have the attitude of being as mindful as I can as I go into sleep. It wasn't about past life. It wasn't about acid trouble. It wasn't about out of body. That wasn't about going to remote places. Wasn't any of that. It's just how can I be conscious as my body go into sleep? How far can I maintain that awareness as my body going to sleep? You see, because I want to to hold on to that thread, like to see what happened in my consciousness. Why did I drop into consciousness and then go into sleep unconscious, right? I want to see that process. But it's so that was my intention, right? And then this happened.
So yeah, there's a certain sense of curiosity actually required. So actually, it's also, kind of like a game. Like how far can you go, and how long can you maintain the awareness, and how aware are you of the quality of the awareness, right?
Yeah,
Broad. So it's very yeah,
it's
it's
mm, it's not so much a game, but it's more like pushing your limit, right? You know your limit, because this journey is all self-paced, right? And it's all about self-awareness. So where self-awareness meaning to know your limit, right? And to know how much you can push that limit, um, but at the same time have self-compassion and not push it too much, right? So it's very much you are your own teacher. You know your boundaries, you know your pace, and you determine that.
yes. Mm. Yeah, well, that's a very interesting topic. Like, yeah, we're really going to the juicy parts of or the fruits of our practice. So, yeah, so that's something we could really try to do. And like, if there are people out there listening to this and watching, and then they have some experiences, it would be always nice to see that in the comments, or if there's any questions. I'm sure Kishin can answer them. So yeah, just let us know your thoughts, or like your experiences, and Yeah, so that would be nice to hear.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you again next time.
Yes, looking forward. Thank you for talking, and bye bye.